Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So there was a request. Someone wanted to see the spreadsheet and math breakdown on how I determine if cards are worth it for grading. So first just wanted to scroll through the spreadsheet I've built out. Usually if I find a card that I like based off of this, I'll save it in an eBay search. I'll go through eBay and I will purchase copies that look clean at an appropriate price. Now, I don't necessarily always go back and update stuff, so these raw costs, PSA 10 costs, gem rates aren't exactly accurate, but I'm mainly looking for cards with these high ROIs. So just because you have a positive ROI, if you're like a 2-3% ROI, for the most part, I'm probably not targeting that card. I'm really looking for like 15% plus. So we'll go over here to eBay, and we are going to search a card. So we're going to do two separate examples. We're going to try to do a good example, and we're going to try to find one that's not as good of an example. So the three things I use are going to be eBay, which is how you search for your cards and save it, Card Ladder, or you can use eBay. I have a Card Ladder subscription, so I can look up, recent sales prices. So this was just something I was putting together separately for a spreadsheet I had. But yeah, you need something to look up that 130 point, which I've heard isn't as good recently. eBay also works if you go to eBay sold items. And then you're going to need gem rate, and you're going to want to click on this universal search, and this is how you click any cards you want. So the first card that we're going to start off with, let's go ahead and start off with, how about we do 2017 Topps Aaron Judge, just because this will be a good example to see, because I know its gem rate's not crazy. Obviously, some of these rookies with 90% gem rates are a lot crazier. So you can see number 287, we're not looking for the gray jersey, the catching one. So you can see here, PSA 10 prices look to be pretty solid. But let's go over to Card Ladder. Let's search Judge 287, 2017. And we can see PSA 10 sold for $300. A lot of raw cards here. Another PSA 10 313, PSA 10 310. So we're just going to call it 300. It might be more like 310. But let's go over here to video example. PSA 10s are selling for 300, and we're looking at 2017 Judge 287. Now, a couple things I've set up. The bulk price to me for grading a card is about $29. So that is your grading fee, which is $25, and you've got to pay to ship cards to and from PSA, which typically adds on about another $3 to $4, depending on if you had insurance. If you choose to vault it instead of shipping it back to you, it could be a little cheaper. But I call it $29 to be conservative. The other thing we want to look at, projected fees. If a card's selling for $300, I expect to get about 85% of the sales price. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, but about 85% of that on eBay. Projected value is going to, we'll come back to that. Projected profit, we'll come back to that as well. So we've got our PSA 10 price. Now let's go back over here. Let's look for raw values. So we're seeing $40, $40, $50, $70, $60. So as someone that's looked at this card before, we're seeing a lot of 50 and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to have to pay $60 for a copy that's clean, because these have a lot of white backs and stuff, especially because it's an older card, 2017. So it may not be a great example because it's older, but I still follow this for like some 2014 Jose Ramirez stuff, and that stuff actually grades fairly decent. So we've got that information. Now we need to go over here to gem rate, and gem rate is completely free. That is the amazing part about this, is that it's got all of the card grading information in it free. So what we do is we click on the card. So that's our Aaron Judge catching. It's not anything else. And you can see the different grading companies here. And what we're looking for is gem rate. With PSA, the gem rate is these gem mint cards divided by the total cards. You can see BGS actually seems to grade this card a bit easier. However, their gem mint is a 9.5. So we've got a 45.9% gem rate with PSA. You can take this with whatever grading company you want, but I grade with PSA, so I'm going to use that. We've got a 45.9% gem rate, which is going to show red because it's a lower gem rate. And now we can break down the rest of the numbers. So projected value. How am I calculating what I expect this card to be worth after grading? I am taking my PSA 10 cost and I am multiplying it by the gem rate. So in this example, $300 cards times 45.9% or times 0.459. It's going to be slightly below 150. That's that 137.70. For example, another example would be if your PSA 10 cost is 100 and it's a 75% gem rate, my projected value on the card is 75% because 75% of the time that card's going to be worth $100. And then for my spreadsheet, I make anything that's not a PSA 10, so 9s and below, worth $0, and that's just to be conservative. I want to be finding the cards with the best margins. I don't want to be buying cards where, unless it's super high end, then I will do a single card calculator for cards with lower gem rates and build out the 9s, 8s, 7s, and their percentage that they get graded at. But I want to be conservative. I don't want to be putting together all the grades and finding, oh, this card's got a 5% ROI. You're not going to make any money off of 5% ROI because your cards might be at grading for 5 months. The card could drop 20% in value in that time. So you want to be targeting higher ROI. So that's why I don't include anything other than the PSA 10 value. So that's where you get your projected value. Projected profit's just going to be projected value minus our raw cost, or minus our cost with grading, because that's our raw cost plus our value here. And then we're also going to be subtracting out our fees from selling the card. So you can see that card's got a 4% ROI, and that's with just the PSA 10 cost. I don't really like this card. It's got a lot of white backs, so you can see the ROI is pretty low, fairly lower gem rate. But let's take a look at another card. This is one I'm no longer buying, but this is 2023 Cosmic Wemby, or Victor Wembanyama. So let's go over here. I was buying these when they were about $20 to $25 raw. Wembanyama 151. And I just know some of this stuff because I've bought a lot of them. So these cards raw are now selling for approximately $60. You can see 67, 52, 73, 55, 70, 65. So 60. We'll go ahead and call it 65. I'm seeing a lot up there in that 65 range. So 65 raw cost. So we're into this card for almost $100 when we get it graded. Now, when we go over here, we don't need eBay anymore, really, but that's okay. You really don't need eBay to do this, but it's nice to have eBay in case you don't have Card Ladder paying for it. You can do it on there as well. Now, this card in a 10 is going for $380, $410, $380, $410. So we're just going to call it, and we see some 355s down there. We're going to call it $380. That's kind of the middle of those prices. So PSA 10 price at $380. Now these are going to be crazy margins because I do know the gem rate on this card. But let's look at if every other card we graded got a 10 and our 9s were worthless, which they're not. But that's the beauty of not using them, is like our 9s are worth $140. If we, I guess this one's a refractor, but our 9s are selling for $140. So even if we 9 a card, this one sold for $86, $120. Even if we 9 the card, we're going to make money, or at least be close to break even. So that's why I think this is a great card. I just think it's super inflated due to NBA playoffs and the Spurs. I think this card will drop. It's non-licensed. I'm not a buyer at $60 to $70 on that card. But if we got every other card to gem up, look at that. Projected profit, almost $40 a card, ROI of 41%. And the crazy thing is that if we do Cosmic Wembanyama 151, this card, oh, where'd he go? Come on. There it is. This card has a 64.8% gem rate, which is absolutely ridiculous. 64.8. So this is a card that if we were to grade it, and every time we're only taking the 10 value, say we throw away the card if it gets a 9 or below, we're still projecting, come on, we're still projecting to make $95 a card, which is 100% ROI, because we are making $95 on almost a $95 investment, right? Because you have to include the grading cost, you're paying for it. Some people will try to say that I bought this card for $1, I sold it in a 10 for 50. You know, I 50x'd my money, but you paid 25 plus for grading. So realistically, you only 2x the money that you put into it. But this card here, that's just a crazy example. I don't recommend buying right now. It's non-licensed. It's gone up 3x in the last 4 months. I think if the Spurs don't win it all, even if they do win it all, I just don't see that card in the next, 4 to 6 months from now being up there in that value. But it's something I might reevaluate after, a month after the Spurs lose or actually win it all. That just goes to show you, two completely different cards. We've got one with a lower gem rate, one with a 64.8 isn't high gem rate, but it's a strong gem rate. But look at that ROI. Now, you're also going to find some cards too, and I'll see if I can find an example real quick, where we've got really good gem rates, but we're making almost zero margin. And one of those cards, I believe, this is a bit of a higher value card, but if we look at Rockstar's Wembanyamas, and I'm sorry that I'm using Wembanyama twice. Rockstar's Wembanyamas, actually, no, they weren't as good of an example because they were going for like over 300 raw, but only 600 in a 10. Let me try to think of another one that I know. What has a high gem rate? Let's see here. I'll have the 2020 stuff has a high gem rate. Let's see here. Let's just look up PSA 10 Rockstars. I think some of these Rockstars are good examples of one. So Flag's not a great example. LeBron only selling for 630. I'd be curious what LeBron Rockstar ungraded is doing. LeBron Rockstars. PSA 9's going for 300, so Raw's 326. Let's do the LeBron. All right, so let's do a LeBron Rockstars. I'm not sure what this is going to come out as, but to me, this looks like one that might not do as well. So, LeBron Rockstars. We see 325, 284, 335. That's a digital one. Don't get caught into those. 305, 305, 310. So let's go ahead and say 305 is our raw cost. This is just real quick. I mean, these numbers don't need to be 100% accurate, right? You're going to have a plus or minus probably 5 to 10% error on your pricing, and that's built in. But you're looking for these super strong projected profit, projected ROIs, where if I lost 10% of this, I've still got a strong ROI. So, cost with grading. I didn't copy these rows down. That's my fault. Oh, come on. And then PSA 10 costs. So PSA 10s look to be like 630, I think. So 630 there on a 10. Here's a 10 that did 700. Here's one that did 700, 690, 600. So actually, we'll call it 700. So it's a bit higher than I thought it was going to be. But you can see that our projected fees are going to be a lot higher. We've got $100 in fees because that card sells for so much. Now, the gem rate's the big question. I do know the Rockstars have a pretty good gem rate, but I think that since so many people are grading LeBron, that it may not be like 100%. But it's still high. It's an 88% gem rate. So let's go ahead and punch in that gem rate, 88%. Oh gosh, that's not a percentage. Let's go ahead and change that. Oh, come on. We need to make this a percentage. And 88%. All right, so LeBron's actually a pretty good card to grade. I'll do one more example. I'll try to find a card real quick for you guys that is a good example. So let me actually go over to cards here. So this is what's nice. I've made my own rules and stuff, but I can see projected profit, or I can see gem rates, green gem rates with low ROIs. So that's ones that we are going to be looking at. So 2017 Judge Pink Refract. That's a really high value card. I don't think that's a good one to go over. High gem rates. Those are all going to be good cards because I started filtering stuff out. We can do a Judge Pink Refractor. We could, here's some ones with good gem rates. All right, let's do this one here. Let's do a 2018 Topps Update Juan Soto Rainbow Foil. So, our raw cost on that card. 2018 Update Soto Rainbow foil US 300, and I'm pretty sure I had this right. If we go back over here, yeah, this is a card with a solid gem rate, but you are still going to lose your money. So, raw. Let's see here. Let's find raw sales. There aren't very many raw sales of this. Here's one. $75 back in February, $75 back in February. So you see two $75 sales there. I had it at 100 back then. So this might actually be a better card now, but I still don't expect the profit to be crazy on this. Cost with grading is going to be close to $100, $104. Now the PSA 10 cost on this Soto selling for $330, $324, or $325, $325. So we'll call it a $325, which you can see is actually higher. I believe I had it marked as $235. So this is going to be another good example, but it's just practice. I mean, it shows you how quick this stuff can be, right? You just have to check comps real quick. And then we're going to go ahead and do a Soto US 300 over here. Rainbow foil. We're going to type that into gem rate. We've got the batting rainbow foil, 69.7% gem rate. What was it before? It was 69.8, so it's gone down 0.1%. It's to be expected with this older stuff is for it to for the gem rates to slowly drop over time because everything will have been filtered out by people that have already graded stuff before. So you can see here, this is actually a really good card right now if you can find a clean copy. But I mean, you can see if you go back here and look at some of these prices, like this was a good gem rate, but it did not have a good ROI. This one here, this O-Pee-Chee Platinum Bedard, good gem rate, didn't have a good ROI. So you really want to be focusing on ROI at the end of the day. It's extremely nice to have cards with good gem rates, you know, but another thing to look at if you want to get into some maybe higher dollar cards, so like the 2008 Topps LeBron and Kobe's Raw, you can make money on their PSA 9s. They've got like a 15 to 20% PSA 10 rate. You can make money on the 9s. But general principle with the more modern stuff, I'm looking for stuff at a 50 to 60% gem rate minimum with a strong ROI because I know I'm going to be getting 10s in my order. And I know that I'm going to be able to flip those cards for money. So that's just, 4 live examples to show you guys. I know that someone had wanted to see that. So hopefully doing those example live help you guys out. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. Comment what you think of this breakdown down below in the comment section. eBay, ComC store link below in the description if you're interested in purchasing anything. As always, thank you for watching. 2K for life. Peace.